coming down.
Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
Oh, they're going to toss it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Laguna has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly, Miller's still start trouble. He's not second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry!
So, from Florida, we head to Monterey, California, as round 4 of the NARS Virtual Modern Sports Car Championship continues here in 2025. And, well, we go to a classic as we head to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna, Seca, in Monterey County, just outside of Salinas. And it is more the case of who will become top dog as we fast approach the halfway point of the season. Hello, everyone. Welcome along to the official broadcast. My name's Alex Goldschmidt, and alongside me, Mr. James Parfitt joins me in the booth. And what's more, we do have quite a few things to get through. First of all, let's talk about the track itself. Well, Laguna Seca really needs no introduction. It has been around since 1957, and its length is just 2.24 miles, 11 turns, and an elevation change of around about 180 feet, aka 55 meters or 5.5 stories when you go through into the infamous Corkscrew. It really has tested the very best, and it is also part of the IMSA WeatherTech Sportscar Championship. More to the point, what are the keys to tonight's race? Well, you've got to carry the speed through the corners. The track width, it's narrow. You've got to watch classes passing each other, and more importantly, you've also got to keep the tyres cool. There's a lot of directional changes here at Laguna Seca, and there's a lot of heavy braking zones, but there's also plenty of overtaking possibilities as well. Then we look at the hypercar strategy. You do your traffic timing with the GTs, and you've got to set up the cars towards momentum. So fuel is at 2x. Probably looking at a 3-stop. The V Series, the 9X8, and the 963, the 499, they'll all be running on either the medium or the hard compound tyre. Then we get to the GTs. So you've got to have a balanced setup for the worn tyres over a stint. Abrasive circuit here at Laguna Seca. And of course, the AMG, the Z06, the Mustang, and the 296 will be the cars to beat. Medium compound tyres, 30 to 35 minutes, possibly a 2-stop strategy in the offing over 90 minutes. So we then look first of all at how things are looking in hypercar at the minute with regards to the standings. Well, Daniel Kirby's on cruise control at the moment. He's won 3 from 3. He's won at Daytona, he's won at Long Beach, he's won at Sebring. Troy Uyen is his next closest competitor. Was Gilles Lalonde in the 9X8, rounds out your top 3. John Marr and Johnny Gutierrez round out the top 5. Ben Kesby, Mike Bell, Ege Karabasak and Jerry Chen round out the top 9, with John Uyen and Sahil Mustak rounding out the 11 that have already scored points so far this season. Hypercar Am, it's Carl Strahal that leads the way on a 11-point advantage over Norm Graf, with Lanny Hall, Oliver Day, Scar Pope, Adrian Rice, Diego Rodriguez and Philippe Ducati rounding out the 8 drivers that have scored points. Well, Ducati yet to get off the board. Alec King, 3 for 3 as well, just like we've seen with Dan Kirby in terms of the hypercar side of things. Luciano Uchiazo has got his closest competitor, has had a little bit of misfortune. on the last couple of races. Tucker Martin, JT Tammy, Preston McNair ran out the top 5. Mika Dern, Cole McMillan, Becky Ely Clark, Tom Lane, Josh McGlinskey, Stuart Barge, Damien Adrasic, Michael Locke, Luis Lemos, Mateo Santos, Vinicius de Oliveira, and Yuki Takanashi. The last 5 have yet to score points in this series. Ryan Paulbert Reyes, well, it could have been 3 for 3, but drama hit the leading driver at round 3 at Sebring, but he's got a 6-point advantage over the Ferrari of Alan Holden. James Walker coming on strong in this the last couple of moments of this championship, ahead of Eric Jacobs, with Matthew Overton rounding out the top 5. Dave Coors, Daniel Kent, Don Fryman, and William Schlichting have also been in there. Paul Libertson not here tonight. It gives his rivals an open door. He's got 5 points over Stephen Miller, with David Anderson, Alexander McQuarrie ready to pick up the mantle at the sharp end of the LMGT3 AM classification. Max Sutherland looks really, really racy tonight, so watch out for him in the LSD Motorsport GT3. He's ahead of Tom Nacella, Frank Radosti, Olivier Gervais. Then we got Jamie Zalecki and Stacey Scott, who have yet to score points so far this season. In the teams, Shade Tree Motorsports LMP2 have 136 points. They've got a 29-point advantage over Dark Thunder Racing GT3, with Vice Racing GT3 being the 3rd and final team yet to go over 3 figures so far this season in the team standings. LSD Motorsport GT3, TP Performance by STM LMP2 ran out the top 5, ahead of Ram Ranch by STM LMP2, with Spin Doctors Racing LMP2 unfortunately not having the best of luck. They've only scored single digits so far. And here is the calendar. We go to Detroit. Now, there's going to be a new layout for round 5. It's specially made by Storm Gaming Solutions. It's only going to be having Hypercars and GT3s, meaning that the LMP2 drivers can decide to have a round off, or they can opt to drive in the GT3 or the Hypercar class, but it won't affect their LMP2 scores. Then we go to the Glen, Watkins Glen, June 12th. Mosport over in Canada, July 20th. Road America, August 21st. Indianapolis Road Course, September 25th. Road Atlanta, October 23rd. And Virginia International Raceway will be the season finale on the 20th of November. So that is your schedule. And, well, we are under warm-up at the moment. Mr. Parfit, welcome back into the booth, my friend. This is going to be an interesting one here at Laguna Seca.
Yes. And I'm going to say that in the nicest possible way, that last season I saw Alec King literally hurtle through traffic in the hypercars and gave me kittens and puppies all in one lap as he was trying to overtake them in some very precarious situations, should we say. So hopefully we won't see that this season from Alec King in the LMP2, but I'm sure we're going to see it from some others as well. Somebody somewhere is going to have a problem. Why are they going to have a problem? Well, there's this wonderful world of patience, and patience doesn't necessarily go with sim racing people, and I've seen it not go right a lot of times, and the Corkscrew could be one of them periods of the racetrack, Alex, that I think may have a lot more drama than we think it would.
And that's the place where we've got the 5.5-story drop, 55 meters, 180 feet. And you're going to be hard on the brakes into that corner. You've got to really, really measure it conclusively there, because otherwise if you don't and you get it completely and utterly wrong, well, let's just see that had the cat amongst the proverbial NARS Virtual Motorsport Sports Car Championship pigeons. So effectively, one person does a mistake, it can make a domino effect happen here at Laguna Seca. It's one of the shortest circuits on the calendar, let's not forget. So drivers are going to have their eyeballs on stalks, especially the GT3s, when hypercars come through. Of course, you know, Daniel Kirby, 3 for 3 in the Porsche 963. And at the moment, he is the person to beat. But obviously, it doesn't matter. You know, qualifying is also going to be has also been a very crucial point at this circuit. You know, when we go to Detroit, that's going to be another circuit. The Glen, not so much. Mosport, not so much. Road America, Indy, Road Atlanta, VIR. Qualifying is going to play a part, but it's not going to be as essentially crucial as we've had here tonight.
Yeah, you've got to remember with Laguna Seca 2 things. One, the narrowness of the circuit. That's got to be something that they're going to look out for. The other thing they've got to be careful of as well, Laguna is traditionally very, very slippy. It's a very, very slippery circuit, and they've got to make sure that they're allowing that GT3 to wash out, because if you try and dive around the outside and you're somewhere where you shouldn't be, that GT3 is coming over. So they've got to make sure that they've given them room. It's going to be probably look for insides for a lot of overtakes, because they don't want to be trying to go around the outside. It can cause a mass problem for some people, and I'm interested to see how this is going to work out. So we're going to find out how they're going to get on, how they're going to cope with it here, because I can tell you one thing, I don't think we're going to go incident free, Alex. I think there is going to be a fair share of incidents, and I think some of them could be within the Hypercar GT3 area.
Yeah, I think this is the track, and obviously Detroit's going to be another stickler for that as well when we head there on May 15th for round 5 of this 11-round championship. So it is about, now is the point where the mistakes need to be as minimal as possible. And as you and I have always said, whether it's either one of us, we've just finished on the warm-up side of things, that you can't necessarily win it in turn 1, but you can certainly lose that opportunity to go for the W, and that's going to be quite crucial here. You know, Daniel Kirby, can his win rate be broken? Alec King in LMP2, they are the only 2 drivers in the respective classes that have taken all 3 wins, and they've done it quite convincingly. Daniel Kirby did have a little bit of undercutting, so to speak, last time out, but we are getting ready for 90 minutes here. I'm kind of wondering what's going to happen. As you said, it's not going to be incident free. Turn 1, lap 1, going down into the Andretti hairpin at 2. That is going to be a crucial breaking point. You've got to be right on your marks with that one. So we are waiting for the field to ready up. So I think really it's time to find out who's where on the grid, but we've seen some very, very competitive times in qualifying. I mean, Max Unterlap, second quickest LMGT3 overall and pole sitter in AM. He's going to start 19th, but it's going to be Daniel Kirby versus Ben Kesby at the front of the field. That's going to be another battle that we were hoping to see earlier on in the season, but Ben hit trouble, and we were denied of that fantastic battle with him and Mr. Kirby. So, you know, I think also maybe the Peugeot could be a bit of a dark horse here with Johnny Gutierrez. But here's your lineup for round 4. Daniel Kirby will start from pole position. He's switched from the Porsche to the Peugeot 9X8 Evo. He's lining up with Ben Kesby. Troy Uyen and Johnny Gutierrez will round out row 2. Alec King starts 5th overall for LMP2 with Gilles Lalonde in Hypercar. Well, it's John Mayo that's actually P5. Alec King will start 6th. Gilles Lalonde will start 7th. JT Tammy makes it to another LMP2 car in the well, I think it's the top 7. Gilles Lalonde starting 8th. Luciano Uchiazo and Michael Lock rounding out the top 10. Sahil Mustak, Brian Hall and Jerry Chen, with Carl Strahal leading the Hypercar AMS in 14th. Lanny Hall, Norm Graf, Cole McMillan, et al. There's quite a few drivers coming through. So Brian Hall starts 13th, Jerry Chen 14th, Cole McMillan, and then our leading LMGT3, Ryan Paulbert Reyes, the initial 3 racing number 12, starts 18th, ahead of the Aston Max Sonthon-Lap. Eric Jacobs will start 22nd behind Alexander McQuarrie, with James Walker and Matthew Overton making it an all Aston Martin row number 12. We've got 30 cars on the grid tonight. William Schlichting makes a return, and he'll be joined by Stephen Miller, with Tom Nasella in the Mustang. He'll be joined by Shady Dames' Stacey Scotts in 28th, and Preston McNair will line up in the TP Motorsport number 16 LMP2 car, and will round out the 29 strong grid. But I'm quite intrigued about Daniel Kirby's choice. I mean, he's run with the 9X8 before without the rear wing in previous Champion Motorsports competitions. I think, if I remember, the 90 minutes of Qatar, and he was absolutely on fire for that particular race. So a change of machinery for the man currently leading the hypercar side of things. That's going to be, I think for me, that's an interesting choice. He's stuck with the Porsche for the first 3 rounds, JP, and now he's gone to the French arch rival.
Yeah, to be honest, mate, I wouldn't be surprised if he turned up one week in a GT3. I just wouldn't be shocked by it whatsoever. You can stick Dan Kirby in a shopping cart and it'd still be quick.
Might have to try that one time later on this year, maybe at the final round at VIR. But they're making their way through turn 10. So turn 9 being rainy curve, and then it's going to be turn number 11. So 90 minutes on the counter here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. First opened back in November of 1957 and has been one of the major places where sports car action has erupted. As ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be 1 hour and 30 minutes as we will now go green here at Laguna Seca. It's Kirby on pole position, Kesby in the caddy alongside on the front row. We're green, we're underway, and a lightning bolt start from the Peugeot 9X8 Evo of Dan Kirby. We head into the Andretti hairpin for the first time here at turn 2, and an early gap of about 0.6 of a second. It's getting very, very close indeed. LMP2's now getting underway, JP.
Yeah, you can see at the front of the LMP2 at the moment, you've got Alec King sitting there getting away first as well. JT Tammy, Luciano Echarzo, Michael Lock in there with Preston McNair in that current order. GT3s are making a move as well. Paulbert Reyes, some for lap at the moment. Alan Holden, Alexander McQuarrie and Eric Jacobs, followed by Matthew Overton. Everybody's made it through a first time around, so that's good for them. But Dan Kirby's done what he had to do, Alex. He got away right at the beginning.
Drama for Gilles Lalonde in the other Peugeot 9X8, the number 65. Looks like he had a moment going off at turn number 2, whether he was assisted by that, but we are very quickly coming towards the end of the opening lap of this race. And here's the Champion Motorsports replay. So Gilles Lalonde going into turn number 2, early doors. And yeah, I think I did see him go wide. He's going to probably have a little bit now. He just lost it on his own. He lost it on his own, and he spun in front of one of the Porsches. So he was very, very lucky. He did not sustain any major damage. It might just be superficial on that point. So Gilles Lalonde drops down to 12th overall, and a bit of a gap between him and Alec King. And looks like, well, he's done it again. Same place, and he's absolutely battered the rear. That is the second time coming out of turn 2 at the Andretti hairpin on the run through to 3, and he's just gone and tried to turn it in. The back end's been completely uncooperative, and that has thrown him amongst the LMP2 cars. Let's have a look at the replay.
This is Preston McNair.
Preston McNair in the number 16. That's coming out of turn 4. Oh, and he's smacked the barrier with the left front, so that's going to have a bit of damage there, and he's already in pit lane, and he's lost the rear wing.
The wall, and then loses the wing.
Yeah, well, we did say about this. You did say about the fact that this track was going to be greasy. Well, Gilles Lalonde and Preston McNair have now shown that in spades as we complete another lap here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. We go on to lap number 5, and Kirby is absolutely flying at the moment. Ben Kesby in the Cadillac V Series has just put in the fastest lap of the race.
Had a drama as well, Alex. Sorry to interject there. Stacey Scotts has just been, unfortunately, had a little bit of a problem once more on that one. But Dan Kirby, he is out in front. Preston McNair did not start, well, he didn't start at the back. He managed to make his way past the GT3 kit field and got on to the back end of the LMP2s, I should say. But unfortunately for him, he has obviously had another incident, and unfortunately for him, has also grossed. Let's bring Mr. Ross Smith in and see for his analogy at the start. Welcome in, Mr. Smith. How are you, sir?
Good. Good evening, good morning. How are you guys doing? This is a good race.
Yeah, it definitely is. Dan Kirby off to a great start. Others maybe not so much.
Yeah, and he has a lot of experience in the 9X8, obviously being on the testing team for Storm Gang Simulation and having run it its first year in. He's well versed with the way that the all-wheel drive runs. I think he's doing a little bit of, I guess you could say, scouting potentially for the next car to be used by the VWC CMS Pro team that runs on the Saturdays, the international events. So I think this is him kind of just, you know, feeling it out, seeing how it runs. So if it's a potential candidate for them to switch to, as CMS Pro likes to do partway through the year whenever it can. So we'll see if that's the case, or maybe he's just joyriding around in a car that he kind of enjoys on his own. We'll have to see.
Yeah, looks to be the case there, Ross. But yeah, he was literally like a scalded cat off a hot tin roof the minute we went green, and straight away over Ben Kesby, he put 0.6 of a second before we'd even hit turn 3. So as you rightly said, I think I was saying to James a little bit earlier on, I think it was part of the I think it was the 90 minutes of Qatar I actually first came across Daniel Kirby, and he was an absolute whirling dervish behind the wheel of that 9X8 then, before we got the Evo version. But Ben Kesby still trying to trade fastest laps with him at the moment. They're both running in the low 1:13.0, so that's pretty quick pace. But the biggest thing that these drivers are now going to have to contend with, and the first one being Preston McNair, he's a lap down. I mean, Tom Nacella in the Soul Ford Mustang, so the blue oval, now finally getting some representation in this championship in LMGT3 AMS, is possibly going to be the next one on Dan Kirby's hit list to get past very, very quickly. So traffic is going to be hard to negotiate. The track's very narrow. There's more runoff and kitty litter that you can think about here, and the barriers are quite close by too.
That's it. That's one of the things they have got to be aware of. You know, we're going to jump on board now with JT Tammy. He's currently in that LMP2, and obviously we've got Lanny Holt in and around Carl Strawhill, Alec King at the moment as well. I am surprised JT, to a degree, Ross, is managing to stay with the likes of Lanny Holt. Lanny in the hypercar category, JT in the LMP2. Is there a massive speed differential that we don't know about, or is just JT being blistering fast at the moment?
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all by that. JT is very competent. I mean, you're going to see him up there racing with the likes of Alec King, like we were talking about, although Alec's a little bit further up in front of Lanny and Carl right now. But yeah, this track just doesn't allow the hypercars a whole lot of area to really open up and run away. It's kind of a lot of fast sweeping bits, so you do get to take advantage of some of that aero, but they just have that little bit of edge, so you're kind of in that overlap section in performance between those prototypes. So you're going to see this where those who maybe can't push their hypercars as much are going to start falling prey to those who can really push those LMP2s a lot more. And I think these guys are going to probably capitalize on Lanny and Carl within the next couple laps. They'll be by them.
Well, there we go. That's going to be an interesting thing for us to watch then, Alex, as well, as we jump down into the GT3s. Alan Holden and Alexander McQuarrie, and Holden has just sent it up the inside there into the final corner of turn 11.
Yeah, this means that the Aston Martin of McQuarrie and the number 23 might be able to get the jump on the Ferrari going down the hill through T1. It's a very, it's a bit of a blind crest there as well, so you've got to really line it up nicely. But Alexander McQuarrie, I think, was possibly a little bit too early on the brakes there into T2. But of course, McQuarrie is about 3 seconds behind Something Lap, who's leading GT3 AM. We said about him at the top of the show that how racy he was looking. He was very, very quick in qualifying and could have given Ryan Paul but Reyes a run for his money for overall LMGT3 pole position here. And more to the point, well, he's keeping within 2 seconds. He's lapping within about 0.7 of a second. But as we all know, gentlemen, Porsches do like doing Porsche things at tracks that could be very unsuspecting, and here there's no margin for error. We ride on board with William Schlichting in the number 7 Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo, and he's made a return to the series. He's trying to close in on Matthew Overton. Now this is the battle for P5 in LMGT3. So Overton's just got to keep it nice and clean. But as we see, when we see the race go on, and obviously we'll see the pit stop cycles come in, that's when drivers are going to really have to use their 3000 IQ strat to get the undercut properly on the opposition.
Yeah, I think that's the thing here. We've got different manufacturers already. Dan Kirby, is he starting to come through? GT field. No, not, well, yes, at the moment he is. The interesting thing as well is obviously with the manufacturers that are on there at the same time. Let's not forget with the GT3s in their classes, who was going to be the strongest manufacturers, AMG, Z06, Mustang and 296. So that's going to be an interesting thing to pick up on. I think from my own point of view is the fact that obviously for Ryan Paulbert Reyes, he is in a Porsche, and you know, look, I'm not being rude, previously over the year of previous any sim race with a Porsche in it, the Porsche all of a sudden could do the same thing for 99 laps, and on lap 100 the back end wants to come round and then decide to kill you. So for Ryan Paulbert Reyes, he's got to be aware of that fact. At some point that Porsche is going to want to try and terminate his life. That's all we need to know about a Porsche going in at this moment in time. Where the likes of Max Sunflap is coming up is in the very sturdy, somewhat house bricky Aston Martin. You know, you've got to be aware that it's not the most effective, but it's probably one of the most stable, and he's got to do a little bit of more work than the Porsche up front. It's going to be an interesting fight, this manufacturer situation. I do love a good manufacturer battle, and especially going on down in GT3, because we do have quite a lot of different manufacturers in the GT3s. So they're going to have to try and work on it and see how they go. But they have got to be aware they've got a very fast 9X8 driven at the hands of a man that could go into a dust cart with an engine and still win the race. So, you know, they've got to be aware of this. LMP2s, we talk about that middle class. That middle class is horrendous. Reason is they've got to look behind and they've got to look forward at the same time. It's not going to be easy. Whether or not, though, with a speed differential that we're seeing that isn't massive here, because Alec King, JT Sammy and Charzo have passed Carl Strawhall, whether or not they're going to get lapped as many times as we think, it's going to be a little bit of cat and mouse, as we can see on the screen right now, Alex.
Yeah, Jerry Chen just up ahead in the 963 Hypercar, just in front of LMP2 class leader. Oh, there was a tag from King on the back of Chen there. That just goes to show how quickly, you rightly pointed this out, Scott, that the Hypercars are not...
Who's Scott?
Sorry, Ross, my apologies, it's early in the morning. Ross, my apologies there.
That's all right, you just make names up as you go along, mate. Don't you worry about it. We'll create love children up here in the booth.
Thanks for that.
That's okay.
Well, at least I was being PC about it.
Well, you was, yes. You can have a James Smith baby. It's fine. Don't you worry about it. Make it up as you go along, buddy.
No, it's like you said, Ross, that the Hypercars are not really able to stretch their legs. I mean, I'm seeing top speeds no more than 168, 170 miles an hour. Now, even with the differential that we're seeing, I mean, Alec King's last highest recorded speed was 156 miles an hour. That is not significant enough of a differential around this circuit, because it's all about the twisty stuff. It's all about that momentum that we were talking with regards to the keys to the race, that this is where you'll see drivers like Alec King give the Hypercars some real grief. We've got a yellow out in sector 3, so someone might have had a drama. I think it's Cole McMillan possibly.
No, it could be Tom Nacella, Lanny Hall, John Meyer, Eric Jacobs and Stacey Scott. It looks like whatever's gone on has gone on within that area. So I'm going to try and have a look and see if we can find whether or not that's all together.
There's a big gaggle up there that we just left, so this will be interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's Tom Nacella. He's lost it coming out of turn 4, I believe, and he's taken out the marker 3 board for turn 5. For turn, that was coming out of turn 3, going into turn 4. So that is definitely someone who will need to check his virtual underwear after the race is concluded, or maybe at the next pit stop. We've then got, this is Ben Kesby. Oh, he's gone completely off. And that has allowed Troy Uyen to get through in the number 24. So, and then we got more drama for Stacey. Oh, she's, oh, dearie me, that's what's cost Ben Kesby second place. Stacey just absolutely losing the back end, went off circuit. I think just trying to dodge the hypercar traffic that was closing in on her at a big old rate of knots, makes a big mistake of her own, and that's one of the Peugeots in the wall, Gilles Lalonde.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find a better angle. Unfortunately, the off track seems to be very far away, coming through the corkscrew into the wall, unfortunately for him.
Got corkscrewed. Yep.
Well,
how about that save by Kesby, though? Wow. big heads up moment for him to be able to kind of send it out wide to keep getting collected.
No, definitely did.
Yep, so Gilliland in the pit lane, Stacey Scott's in the pit lane, but Daniel Kirby now heading up the hill once again in towards the Corkscrew very shortly. He's going to go through turn 6 and then go up the Rahal Straight and into the Corkscrew, where we got that elevation change, 5.5 stories drop. You can see the brake discs going bright red, and did you see that, gents? The right front wheel literally off the floor as he braked into the Corkscrew. Immense, as we've always seen with regards to the car control that Daniel Kirby has, and now he's expanded a lead of nearly 5.7 seconds as we're about to complete lap number 14. Meantime, Alec King closing in on Norm Graff, and also Jerry Chen, Norm Graff in the Aston Martin Valkyrie, leading the AM class.
King's in the wall.
And Alec King is... What is just now? Alec King, that is uncharacteristic. He's lost the rear wing. That car is going to be crabbing. So let's have a look. It might have been aero wash possibilities here. No, he goes into, bottoms out. Loses it, and bang, straight in the wall. And that is Alec King's rate. He nearly got clobbered by JT Tammy and Luciano Icazio. That car is crabbing, damaged steering, broken rear end, and he spins again at the top of the Corkscrew. So Alec King has had it was only going to happen at one point or another that a run of 3 straight victories was possibly going to be affected, but there is still time in this race. I mean, we've still got an hour and 14 minutes to go, but Alec King is going to lose a lot of time in pit lane.
My question is, did he need to be pushing that hard? Did he need to be fighting up there with the hypercars? That's the problem. I'd be interested to know if that was, the right thing to do or not.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there on that one. It was...
Yeah, he didn't need to be fighting with the likes of Norm Graff and Jerry Chen. He already had the lead over JT Tammy. There's got to be a little bit of, mind over matter. Look at me, I'm quick. I'm going to go and lap some of the hypercars. Yeah, you might have done. But unfortunately, you're now in pit lane, sat there. So, it's mind over matter, use your brains. I think that for me. He didn't have to do what he's done, and he didn't have to go and try and get up to the back end of some of the people. And unfortunately for Alec King, that's cost him. I don't know what Mr. Smith agrees, whether or not you agree with me or not.
Well, I kind of do. I feel partially responsible, as funny as that may seem, but I did kind of coax him into the belief that if you were able to lap the field, it would be significantly ahead of his LMP2 field by some point, then could bring him into the booth for a in-race interview. So I don't think that's probably what happened, but in the back of my mind, I'm just wondering if maybe he was probably taking too many risks for no real benefit.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's dropped him all the way down to 24th. I mean, he's been in pit lane now. I think, when you've got an LMP2 following a hypercar, the aero wash is going to be significant. As Norm Graff has just lost it at the top of the Corkscrew. The AM class leader in the Valkyrie has just lost it. And hopefully that does not cost him too much time, because Carl Strahal is the next car up. And then you've got Lanny Hall. So, yeah, just loses it at the top of the Corkscrew completely.
Yeah, the off-board camera's a little bit far away, but he does just go, unfortunately, goes in a little bit too hot. And that's what cost him there for Norm Graff, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you've got to also look at it from an aero wash perspective, because the aero wash from a hypercar, and then you've got an LMP2 that might be a couple of seconds behind. Maybe that's what caught, along with pushing so hard in the terms of Alec King, whether that has also caused the problem of an instability on the front end of that car and caused him to go off at such a rate of speed.
Dude, he was a little bit further back than I think we think. And here it is again. I think for me, he was a little bit far back away from the hypercar. I feel some of this, I don't feel there was much, would have been any different. He just bottomed out and he just lost the car. He ran it wide, which is where he probably shouldn't have been. You can see him here. He's right out over the curb on the drain as well. There is a drain there, and we talk about drains out in the Hungaro ring as well, going up through turn 4. Don't hit the drain. There's no grip on a drain. You know, you've got nothing. And unfortunately for Alec King, he has just found that out the very, very hardest way. And whether or not, as we said, he should have been pushing that hard, I don't really think he should have been. I think he had time to play with, and he could have been a little bit more careful. As for Aero Wash, I think he was a little bit too far back, Alex, for that to actually come into effect.
Yeah, no, I think, I kind of, by having another look at that replay, you know, if he was right up the rear, then I could completely understand it possibly being another factor. But those drains on the outside of that corner at turn, I think it was turn 5 or turn 6, that he just completely nailed himself into the barriers. It was just like magnetism straight away. Hit the drains, and it gives a bit of instability to the...
Pick your word. Is it
instability? The car was not stable.
There you go. Go for the simple
one, mate. It wasn't stable.
Mate.
It wasn't stable on the drains. I mean, because straight away you've got a lack of traction, because it's you know, there's holes in the surface of the drain, so it's not going to do you any favors at all. If he stayed on the green runoff area, I think it would have been absolutely fine.
Yeah, I think it might have been. But unfortunately for Alec King, well, it is what it is. He's all the way down the back end of the field. He's a couple of laps back. He's going to have to try and work his little wonder magic and see how far he can go. We're going to jump down into GT3, show them some love. There's a little bit of a battle developing between Alan Holden and Max Sumpenlap. They're getting close together, but it's quite interesting actually, because every time Holden gets close, there's a hypercar or an LMP2 coming past him. So that battle keeps getting interrupted here as well, unfortunately for them. But they're still fighting it out and they're still having fun down there as well. We'll say we've lost Preston McNair. He has DNF'd. He is done and dusted. Stacey Scott as well has also DNF'd at the same time, and we've got Gilles Lalonde, who's trying to play catch-up at the moment and slicing his way through the GT3 field. His next one is William Schlittling, so that's going to be interesting to see how far Gilles can get. But overall, I think the battle at the moment is going to be this one in GT3s of Maxim Flap and Alan Holden.
Yeah, JT Tammy and Luciano Chiazzo are very, very close indeed. Tammy's just put a move on Jerry Chen for 8th overall, as well, there's Tom Nacella off again, this time at turn 2 at the Andretti hairpin. He manages to keep out of the way, and he's taken the Joker lap in that Mustang. That's not going to do the underside of that car any good whatsoever. But yeah, I think it's
he's got a problem there.
That car's pulling to the left, isn't it, on the rear?
He has got damage somewhere. Because you can see every time he goes to, it's either that or it's just very, very loose.
Hard to do with that car.
What, have it loose? Look at it. Like Bambi on ice, bro.
The Mustang, although it's split 50-50, I'm not disagreeing, but normally when there's nothing affecting it, it does tend to understeer a bit. You know, it's one of the things with a front engine car where...
look at that.
It's a bit faster right now, but yeah.
There is, damn it, there is...
There's got to be something on that car.
It's left rear. It's got to be left rear, because that back end is completely uncompliant on that Mustang. And you can see that how gingerly, and he's just pulled it into the pits and he's just showed up as a DNF. So I think that car sustained really bad back end damage from earlier on, as Dan Kirby's on the flashes already at the front end of the field. He's now 4.9 seconds ahead of Ben Kesby, who's now got back past Troy Uyen after Stacey Scott split the pair of them a little bit earlier on whilst they were battling away, and she she accidentally threw the Hail Mary when she didn't mean to. It's just like there were two cars, and again it just catches that air underneath that 9X8 Evo of Daniel Kirby. We're now right on board with Luciano Chiazzo, who's battling with JT Tammy. They're coming out of turn 2 at the Andretti hairpin, as we're just about to hit 60 minutes to go on the timer in about 6.5 minutes time. So this is the battle for the LMP2 class lead, and right in front they've got the number 43 Lamborghini SC63. JT Tammy tries to go towards the outside, bangs panels. Oh, dearie me. And then into turn 5, they just about make it through, but JT Tammy was so lucky there.
Yeah, Brian Hall, unfortunately, in the hypercar. At the same time, I would say, Ross, this might be a more of a point in the meantime for you. I'm not shocked that they're just as quick. I think I'm more shocked at the fact that they're overtaking them. Is this purely because the makeup of the surface and the makeup of the track, and the hypercars just can't go and whack it and get that massive run out? You know, they've got this start-finish straight, which is a fairly half-decent length, but you can just see in the background there as well, I believe that might have been Brian Hall having his own little drama, and but him and Jerry Chen both passed by LMP2s. I am a little bit confused about it as well.
Yeah, you're 100% right. It's that front straightaway is about the only spot on the track where the hypercars can truly open up. I mean, their advantage should be off of long straights and then a little bit coming off the corners, but there just aren't too many corners here where they can really get that speed advantage where they might be able to accelerate faster than the LMP2s. The P2s are very light. They have a ton of downforce, and there's just so much of this track that caters to that. So they're constantly swarming around them, and I knew that this was going to be one of the tracks on the calendar where you would see a lot of this overlap, and not even just on some of the some of the back markers. I mean, they're starting to get up kind of midfield here as they're passing Brian Hall and Jerry Chen. They're not slouching. I'm not sure how successful they'll be in catching up to Sahil and John Mayer, although they're not too far away. They're only a few seconds behind looking at the timing board. So, I mean, depending on how GT traffic might kind of come into play and slow them down, I think that's probably another aspect too that we might be not seeing here as much, is that the LMP2s can be a little bit more nimble in both the braking zones and through some of the other complex parts of the course. So they can kind of pick and choose a lot more opportunities to get by the traffic than hypercars can, and they're taking full advantage of that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the lap times between Daniel Kirby, whose fastest lap was a 1:12.6. His last lap was a 1:14.2. Alec King, his fastest lap of the race so far, 1:14.5. So on aggregate, you're looking at about a 2-second lap differential between the hypercars and the LMP2s, just because the LMP2s have that little bit more flexibility. And that is a Peugeot on the side of the Corkscrew, left-hand side, and I think that was Alexander McQuarrie I've just seen that was slowing down. And here's the replay. I think it's Gilles Lalonde that might have lost it. Well, I'm going to see now number 18 into the barriers. Oh dear, that was not exactly what one of our LMP2 drivers wanted. That was Cole McMillan, and this is no, that was way too big a rate of closing into the Corkscrew, and that was, I think that was Alexander McQuarrie, and I think Gilles Lalonde, wasn't it?
Max for lap, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh dear.
He just took a nice little whack from that 9X8 straight up the rear end. So there we go. And unfortunately for him, he has just gone round. Cole McMillan's in pit lane now as well. So, yeah, not good.
Yeah, we've got quite a few pit stops happening. Daniel Kirby is now in pit lane. Johnny Gutierrez now in pit lane. Sahil Mustak, Norm Graf, Carl Strahal. Yeah, that was a real shame for Max Dunlap. He was looking so racy and could have actually gone for the LMGT3 overall race victory. Had that incident not happened, there was a possibility that could have happened because he was very quick in qualifying. Wasn't that much slower than Ryan Paulbert Reyes, the 911 GT3, the number 12. And that is going to be one of the LMP2s diving into pit lane, as I think that was Luciano Uchazo, who's just got in. So JT Tammy is going to have a big advantage over Michael Lock to the tune of about 8 seconds or so. as well. That's putting that LMP2 car into P5 overall. So we are seeing a lot of changes now happening. There's Johnny Gutierrez now closing in on Ben Kesby, who's dropped back behind Troy Oyen, I think, through the pit stop phase. So these two are going to be very, very closely, close to each other in terms of proximity as they go up the hill again. So they're going to go through turn 6 onto the Rahal straight. Gutierrez keeping away from the drain covers on the right-hand side of the exit of the corner and up into the Corkscrew. Gap between them about 8 to 9 tenths of a second as Kesby nearly sideways coming out of turn 10, turn 8A. He was nearly sideways in that caddy trying to control it, and you can see the back end looking a little bit loose in the hands of the number 9.
It definitely is at the moment, but he's got that 9X8 looming, who has unfortunately just gone in deep into turn 11. So he's going to survive at least a little bit of time. It's interesting to know that we've got JT Tammy and Micah Locke 5th and 6th overall here. You know, it's unprecedented, shall we say, that these guys are going to be up this high ahead of the likes of Mayer, Jerry Chen, Norm Graff, Sahul Mustak, and Brian Hall. Carl Strawhall and Lanny Hall all seem to be having problems. Alex Kings makes his way back to 15th now here as well, so he's on a bit of a recovery to try and get this car back going forward again, and he's going to be closing in on Lanny Hall very, very shortly.
Yeah, Cole McMillan's just got a penalty from the server, so that's going to impact his race a little bit further too. So at the moment we have 3 DNFs, Tom Nacella, Preston McNair and Stacey Scott. So the Mustang 28, the Arica number 16 and the Porsche number 85 bring us down to 26 runners and riders. Max Sutherland still in pit lane at the moment, along with Eric Jacobs in the number 24 Aston Martin. He's currently running 24th overall, but he's actually 6th and last in the LMGT3 class. But yeah, Alec King having a good recovery drive, but a bit of a wobble coming out of turn number 10. So he nearly could have lost it there as well. That could have been rather nasty there, Ross, if he'd ended up having a bit of a loose rear end and then the back end swaps with the front and then smack into the barriers, he would go again.
Yeah, and I've been looking at the attitude of some of these LMP2 cars, and I remember in driving these, they do get very twitchy, especially as the tires wear down. And as we saw with Alec King on the replay earlier, it does not take a lot to get them unsettled if they get heavily loaded, which happens as they're coming up that dog leg. And some of the other cars, as they've been taking that section, they do bottom out there. I think Alec probably, and you can see right there, I think Alec might have probably had his car set to be quite
and he's done it again. He's done it again.
Oh, mate, what is he doing?
Well, I didn't mean for that.
No, don't worry, don't worry. You were talking about it as fate of circumstance, and it happened. So this is into turn 6, bottoms out again, back end swaps with the front, and then backwards into the barriers.
Yeah, he caught the sausage curb. Watch the sausage curb on the right-hand side. Bump. There he goes. And unfortunately for him, he is a master of his own downfall at the moment, is Alec King. And he's in pit lane. Called it a day. DNF.
Yeah. Well, that's one streak, unfortunately, over and done with. And Daniel Kirby looks to be the person at the moment. Well, he's about to come over to lap Jerry Chen, who's now 6th overall at the moment. So quite very much the case that Daniel Kirby with the switch, as you rightly said, Ross, a little bit earlier on, he's, he had to wait there a little bit just to see what Jerry in front would do in that bright red chrome Porsche 963 with the Shell logo emblazed on the shark fin. We've got a yellow out in sector 2. Carl Struhal has just come out of pit lane. So, yeah, Jerry's probably not going to make it too difficult. He stays on the right-hand side of the circuit through the final corner, lets Daniel go through and says, okay, well, look, I'm not competing directly against you. Yes, I might be in the same class. Now, that just goes to show that there is racing respect through between some of the drivers. There is William Schlichting in the number 7 car that Dan Kirby's just going to literally throw it to the outside of, through at, of all places, turn 3. And then Jerry Chen just waiting for his opportunity to get through. But Ross, we know that Daniel Kirby has been a really big powerhouse within within the Champion Motorsports fraternity and the community, but he is just on another level at the moment, just absolutely manhandling that Peugeot 9X8 Evo, kicking, pulling it along, kicking and screaming by the rear wing on it.
Yeah, he's you're definitely right. He holds a torch of consistency throughout all the different series that he runs, and it's one of his leading traits, just besides having an incredible pace in the cars. He's it's one of the reasons why he's actually done a lot of testing for us, because we know we can hand him a car and he'll be our Stig, and he'll be able to put it through its paces and find the ultimate pace for those cars. And he really demonstrates how he's able to apply that pace consistently over a run, and it shows that he's very strong. He does get some competition on him, and then he starts to you'll see a little bit more pressure come into play. He might lose a couple tenths here and there, but when he's let to his own devices, he can just really clamp in, and that's where he's absolutely the strongest. And it's one of the reasons why he's opening up such a large gap. He can focus on his fuel strategy, he can focus on who he's dealing with in traffic. He's very considerate to the other classes most of the time. Certainly I would say more than most other drivers that are around. So he's just very good overall and very conscious. Like, he's very strong racecraft and race etiquette as he goes through. So it's one of the reasons why he's dominating. Yeah,
I think that was one of the keys to the race, traffic management, and it's very crucial here at this 2.24 mile 11-turn circuit here in Monterey, California. It's just impressive to watch the man at work. He's now going to put another lap down on Alan Holden in the 296 Ferrari, which is currently running P2 in the LMGT3 class, 11.5 seconds behind Ryan Paulbert Reyes. But I think we have a waiting interviewee in, and he's just joined us, Alec King. Alec, what can we say? Two big moments coming out of turn 6 going onto the Rahal Straight, and you've had two big incidents. What happened?
All it can really come down to is just loss of focus, man. Just went through there, caught the inside curb just a little bit too hard, and in the P2s it unsettles the car quick, and just lost it and snapped it real fast. So that's all it can come down to, really. No hardware, no nothing, just me, man. I was in a groove, I was flowing, and when you're in that flow state, everything's working, but you almost get a little bit too comfortable, and I think I just got a little bit too comfortable and tried to ask for too much, and yeah, it bit me. But just mistakes happen, it's part of racing. I can try and be perfect as much as I want to, but still human, you can't always be perfect.
Listen, I've got a question. Sorry, Alex, I'm going to cut in here. Alec, do you feel, I mentioned it on the broadcast, do you feel that you were pushing a little bit harder than you needed to, knowing that you had the lead in the LMP2?
Maybe a little bit, but not truthfully, no. Like, I was really in a really controlled, good state, I felt like, mentally. Like, there are moments where I'm pushing really hard, and at the beginning I definitely was, but once it kind of settled in, I saw I had the gap, and I really was just driving at that point. I think just getting caught up in that little bit of hypercar traffic definitely added that little bit of impatience. I was just trying to kind of get through Jerry and Norm there. So I really, truthfully, I didn't feel like I was overdriving the car at all. Like, tire-wise, like my tire wear-wise, I was really good with tires, and that's kind of a big tell-all of how hard are you really pushing the car. My tire wear within the first, I want to say, let's see how many laps we do, about 15, 16. I'd only worn all 4 tires down by about 10%. So I was wearing about less than 1% a lap on tire wear. So I really was just flowing with the car. We just had that much pace, I feel like. But, at the end of the day, I can say that all I want. But yeah, I mean, when you make a mistake like that, it is just trying to push a little too hard, a little bit lack of focus. But no, I mean, it happens. It's all part of racing.
Okay, mate. No worries.
So, Alec, just really coming on to the next round, because obviously we're going to have a new updated circuit for Detroit. Are we going to see you in action either in GT3s or Hypercars? Is my only other question that I've got for you tonight.
Potentially, we will see. We have some real life racing going on that weekend, so we will see if I will be able to make it that weekend or not. That's kind of why tonight as well, where I kind of got off early. I've got to get up bright and early at about 4 a.m. to drive to the real racetrack because we're going to go real life racing this weekend. But yeah, no, hopefully, potentially. If not, though, you can definitely catch me. I will be in here in the booth with you guys, definitely commentating that one. I did some testing of the track. I was able to kind of get my hands on it before everybody just to do some laps, and that's why we decided to not put the P2s out there. But that track is going to be really tough, and I'm going to, if I'm not running, I will definitely enjoy being in the booth with you guys, because it'll definitely be a mess.
Yeah, where are you racing this weekend, if you don't mind me asking, buddy?
We are racing in the SCCA, the Sportscar Club of America Championship. We will be running in Savannah, Georgia at Roebling Road Raceway. We have done really well in the championship this year. And actually, until tonight, funny enough, I was 3 for 3 in virtual wins, and I'm also 3 for 3 in real life SCCA wins. So we're leading the SCCA championship right now as well. We already qualified ourselves for the big SCCA Invitational Championship in Daytona later this year. But yeah, we're going to get up tomorrow. We're going to go testing all day tomorrow and then have a race Saturday and a race Sunday. So going to hopefully have a better weekend in real life than we did in the virtual world tonight, but definitely going to be a good time.
Brilliant. Alec, good luck this weekend, and thanks for joining us. We'll, yeah, just keep us posted whether you'll either be in the booth or be on the track with us for Detroit on May 15th.
Will do. You guys have a good one. Thank you guys for commentating, and hopefully I'll be watching the stream tonight, so hopefully we can still have a good race. And my teammate JT is still out there. He was in the lead. He's battling with Luciano right now, so hopefully he can still bring home a shade tree victory.
Brilliant. Alec, thanks so much for joining us, buddy. We'll catch up with you soon, I'm sure.
Yep, thank you guys.
So a big thank you to Alec. On that note, gents, our 6-car LMP2 field has been decimated to half. We're down to 3 now. So JT Tammy leads the way ahead of Michael Lark and Luciano Charzio, but more importantly, all 3 cars in the top 10. Out of Cole McMillan, Alec King, who we've just spoken to, and Preston McNair. So there's that's going to be quite interesting for the for who's going to end up winning the race.
Yeah, this is what happened to Cole McMillan, top of the hill again. Going out the corkscrew, unfortunately just goes round. Oh, that was rubbish off board there. I do apologise for that one. Let's try this one. See if we can get a little bit of picture. Comes into the corkscrew, into the bump, unsettles the car, and he calls it a day not long after that.
Wow, good thing for onboard cameras there. So down to 3 runners in LMP2, as we're now currently on what is lap 35. Troy Uyen is ahead of Johnny Gutierrez in the battle for P2 by about 4.2 seconds. But Daniel Kirby at the moment, James, leading by about 12.6 seconds. He is making absolute mincemeat of the opposition. And as Ross was saying earlier on, you know, that's why he's so dominant. He's got the racing respect. He's got that know-how, that racecraft to just make sure that he hits every single marker at the right place, right time.
Yeah, that's the thing for me. Now, the other day, I saw something that I've never seen before in my life, right? I was at Santa Pod Raceway, and there was a guy in a dustbin that had got an engine put onto the back of it. And he was driving down the quarter mile in a dustbin. And that, for me, is probably what you can stick Dan Kirby in and he'd still go out and win a race. He is literally on a different level. He is literally part of an alien crew that's come down from a different planet to dominate CMS, sim racing in R Factor 2. He is just, there's not enough really words that you can say about him. And he's very interesting when you talk to Dan Kirby as well, because for me, he's probably the most humblest man you will ever talk to. He'll never show arrogance. He'll barely show emotion. He's very, very interesting when you get him up in the booth to have a chat with him, like we will hopefully a little bit later. But he is just an unbelievable individual, an unbelievable driver, and you can see why he gets used for what he gets used for here within CMS, because you know, there is no one better at the moment.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's just the way he's just going about his business, just not really, you know, concentrating what everyone else is doing. He's just completely focused on and zoned in. You know, he's got the horse racing blinkers on. We're coming up to about a minute and a half away from half time in the 1.5 hours of Laguna Seca. Thank you to everyone that's already put their comments in so far. Jeff Carroll, well done with the broadcast, gents. Feels like it's IRL. Cheers. We then had Great Scots Racing saying Tom likes a loose car. I think talking about Tom Nacella in the Mustang, saying likes a loose car, but not that loose. Ross Alexander Smith with Kesby with the heads up award of the race. So we're now seeing some further pit stops. I mean, I think the way that Daniel Kirby, as you rightly said, Ross, able to keep his fuel strategy on point. I mean, he's leading now ahead of his nearest challenger in the hypercar classification at the moment, ahead of Troy Uyen by 13.6 seconds. I mean, the way things are going at the moment with regards to Dan Kirby is that he really knows that he's got this race locked down to where he can control the proceedings, and everyone's just got to follow the leader.
Yeah, and I've as you were talking, I was kind of looking at how he's been driving that car. He's the one of the few all-wheel drive cars out there, and he might actually be the only one. If well, I'm sorry, the other two Peugeots. But as far like we don't have any 499s, we don't have any. Obviously, Isoda is out this year, so he's kind of really showing the maximum capability of that platform versus some of the other cars here. And I find that interesting because this track you wouldn't imagine would cater too well to an all-wheel drive setup, because you want something that would want to be fairly stable but really track through the corners well. And I feel like a lot of drivers would opt for rear-wheel drive to be able to get through here, you know, minus any rain situations. But he's really able to sling it through the corners quite a bit. And, you know, one thing that I noticed that when we have another 9X8 that has spun around, it looks like Gilles Lalonde at the end of pit road has kind of gone around. But we've actually done a lot of work on the all-wheel drive platforms to make sure that you don't have the ability to do some Scandi flicks or, you know, really take advantage of that front wheel action to be able to track through corners the way that you would say a rally car. And because that's not what they do in WEC, you know, they don't have that ability. You have to be over, I think, 150 Ks before you can engage any of the front wheel. So you know, it's the entire reason why we see a wing on the back of there as we see Gilles go around, just kind of losing it on the pit road exit. But I just find it interesting that he's still able to take advantage of that car's characteristics and the way that it does drive, and still be able to find and poke and prod what he can do with it. And that kind of reinforces my thinking that he's using NARS as an exploratory exercise to be able to understand the mechanics of the car and where it might be advantageous if his CMS Pro team decides to switch platforms within the BWSC series.
And also the fact that Gilles Lalonde, apart from having that 360 spin there, James, picks up a penalty according to the server as well. So whether that was either speeding in the pit lane or he did look to have crossed the outside white line, exiting pit lane, which sometimes is considered a no-no, and he was on the green stuff, and that didn't really help him with regards to his rotation.
No, definitely not. You can't be over the line. We all know this. It's going to be an unsafe pit exit of some sort, to be honest with you, because let's face it, he didn't really come out of the pits here either, did he? You know what I mean? But I'm interested to keep an eye on what's going on down here in the GT3s at the moment. We've got Eric Jacobs, who is currently right up behind Alan Holden. So I'm interested to know how they get on. It's going to be a Ferrari Aston Martin Vantage battle. We'll keep an eye on this one for a minute, as long as it doesn't get disturbed. Gilles Lalonde's just coming out of pits after serving his penalties, just on the right-hand side. There he is there. So we'll keep an eye on this little GT3 battle, which is the current closest battle on the racetrack.
Yeah, also Ryan Paulbert-Reyes, who's now rounding out the top 3 in LMGT3, he is about a couple of seconds behind Eric Jacobs, as Gilles Lalonde gets very, very close there to the Ferrari number 25 of Alan Holden nearly gives the man a scare as they go up the hill once again. And this is going to be very, very crucial here through turn 6 onto the Rahal straight. Ferrari bottoms out a little bit on the right front, so you see sparks flying from the right front splitter as they now go into the corkscrew. Gap is about half a second, 6/10. And now that Ryan Paulbert Reyes has a little bit of clean air, this gap now between the top 3 overall in LMGT3 is just a shade over 1.3 seconds. So we've got 3 different manufacturers, Ferrari, Aston Martin versus Porsche in LMGT3, top 3 overall. So this is going to become a really heated battle here, Ross, because we now come out of the final corner and it's about a second between the top 3.
I've been interested to see how these two would pair up, because Alan Holden had been working his way up through the field. We saw him being, kind of gentle with Alexander McQuarrie and some of the others as he was kind of making his way through. And he's very competent in that 296. He's really found his way to be able to work it to get a very stable setup over time. It's not always fast initially on the stint, but it is consistent, and I think it gets quicker it goes along. So he's definitely very quick with that. But as I think James said earlier, that the Aston Martin is kind of like a workhorse. It's just sort of a good all-rounder. He's obviously getting harangued now by Eric Jacobs, who's able to kind of press that advantage. I'm just curious to see if they're able to kind of maintain their pace as it is now, or if Eric is going to be able to come by. And don't count out Ryan Paulbert Reyes, who's very close behind in that Porsche 992, who's I think he's going to probably take advantage of these two battles. He's definitely going to get by Eric Jacobs if he gives the slightest bit of a chance for it.
Oh, Alex has
Think we
forgot
lost
to...
him?
No, he's forgot to unpress the mute
There we
button.
go.
Told you.
There we go. Yeah. You can tell it's early in the morning here in the UK. But as I was saying, I mean, James, you rightly said that the Aston Martin is as aerodynamic as a brick on wheels in comparison with the very, very svelte front of that Ferrari 296. But, you've got 2 cars that are turbocharged. You've got a 3-litre twin-turbo V6, a 4-litre twin-turbo V8, and then you've got a 4-litre flat-6 boxer engine in the back end of that 992 Porsche GT3, as Dan Kirby now tries to thread the eye of the needle at the moment between the top 2 in the LMGT3s, but bides his time, just waits for the opportunity, dives to the inside, gives the car's width to Alan Holden, so make sure that he does not disrupt that top 3 battle. And just behind them is Jerry Chen, I believe, in the number 006 Porsche 963, who makes quick work of Ryan Paulbert Reyes. But yeah, this top 3 battle, depending on how the pit strategies work out, could really be very crucial on who ends up top dog and whether Paulbert Reyes can be back on winning ways, or can Alan Holden take the victory. Maybe even Eric Jacobs could spring a surprise here tonight.
Yeah, he could do. I'm interested to know what this hypercar is doing here. There's a lot of uncertainty coming out of that hypercar at the moment. Now you need to go, son. You could have gone on the inside of 9, and you didn't. You had the option. He gave you the big wide open space to the inside of 10, and you didn't take that either. And now you're taking an outside line of a GT3 away. You know what I mean? I think he needed to be a little bit careful.
Yeah, I think he was being respectful. Jerry's not exactly very close to Brian Hall right now, and he doesn't really have any pressure behind from Gilles Lalonde. So I think he's just sort of being mindful at the moment.
Is that how you would put it, Mr. Smith, is it?
Sorry, what was that, Al?
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say, well, Gilles Lalonde's in another state at the moment. He's not in California. He's a bit far behind at the moment, but yeah, this is a bit dicey now. I think that's Brian Hall just going. That wasn't Brian Hall. I think that was Lanny Hall, who's now leading Hypercar AM. And then we've got, that is Troy Uyen, I believe, as Reyes is going to make a move. That's brave up the inside of Jacobs, and he got the move done. Yeah. But they've got the hypercar traffic coming up behind them. That's not going to be very, very good for the pair of them, as that was Uyen diving, I think, diving into pit lane, possibly, or John Mayer, one of the two. It was Troy Uyen, but now this gives the opportunity for Ryan Pulbert Reyes to start trying closing that gap that has now expanded to 1.4 seconds for the LMGT3 class lead. But that was a great move there from Ryan Pulbert Reyes on Eric Jacobs. They gave each other enough racing the room. They knew that there were some hypercars closing in, and Reyes just knew, I had to get that move done quickly.
Yeah, he basically took the opportunity of the hypercars coming through. That was the thing for him. He used the traffic against Eric Jacobs because Jacobs was there teetering around, and you know, with the uncertainty of some of the hypercars that was going past him, and Pulbert Reyes went, well, I'm not hanging around, so tough, I'm going through. And now for Eric Jacobs, he's dropped down into third. He's just got to try and keep going with Pulbert Reyes and see if he can catch back up. He's clearly got pace in that Aston Martin. He's now just got to make the most of it. So we'll see what Jacobs can do here over the 992 and the Ferrari up front, as you say, with Alan Holden, who, as Ross said, seems to get quicker and quicker as the race goes on.
Yeah, that could also be a good help with the track evolution. I mean, the track temperature's been pretty consistent all race long. We're heading into the final 35.5 minutes of this 90-minute encounter before we head to Detroit for round 5 on May 15th, where we'll only see Hypercars and GT3s in action. And you can see how committed Alan Holden was, actually going through that right-hand line crest at turn 1. And yeah, I thought the front end got a little bit of air underneath it there on the 25.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me with the amount of speed he was pushing there at the moment. You know, everything kind of settled down in all the other classes. You can see on the left-hand side at the timing tower, this GT3 battle is probably one of the closest ones we've got at the moment. So we'll keep an eye on this for a little bit and give the older GT3 some love as they're continuing to fight with Pulbert Reyes and Eric Jacobs, who hopefully should be bringing that Aston Martin back up in together. After all, he does look like he's got a smiley face on the front of his car.
He does indeed. He does indeed. Well, looking at the lap times, Ryan Pulbert Reyes was exactly 0.6 to the decimal point quicker than Alan Holden. Eric Jacobs running on a high 124.3. Alan Holden's last lap was a low 124.6. So it is now the race is starting to come in this latter third of the race here. Ross, wouldn't you agree, towards Reyes and the Porsche? It seems to be really getting a good turn of speed now that he's got some clear air between himself and Alan Holden.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Alex. That Porsche has just been performing excellent this year, and it's interesting that it kind of aligns with how Porsche's been able to see a lot of success in both IMSA and in WEC right now. If you recall back when the 992 first came out, even by the second year, it really struggled, and some of that was having to do with the way that it was getting balance of performance applied and whatnot. But I think some of it was just teams struggling. There were certainly things that were being applied to it. And, you know, I can honestly tell you that in the background, we were going through similar gyrations when we were trying to get some balance out of the car and get it where it was going to work effectively. And certainly, as James likes to say, Porsche doing Porsche things, it's still certainly something that can happen. But, you know, with Ryan Pulbert Reyes, he's one of those drivers that is kind of a Porsche whisperer, and he understands the way the car wants to work, and it fits with his driving style, his setup style, and everything. So he's really able to just maximize that car's potential, and he really showcases it here. And you see the same thing coming from Paul Ibbotson when he's able to work with that car, which I can't recall if he's switched over to the Aston Martin yet or not, or if he was going to do that. I know he's talking about it, but yeah, those two drivers, they're very good with Porsches. They really know how to extract pace out of them, and I think he's just going to probably run away from Alan Holden unless you see maybe he uses up some of the rear tires on that car as the balance shifts in it, as we know Porsches sometimes do. So he may close that gap back down if Ryan Pulbert Reyes manages to get by him. I kind of spoke a little bit early, but yeah, we'll just watch that battle and see how this kind of plays out towards the end.
Right, Daniel Kirby pits on lap 47. So with 32 minutes remaining here at round 4 of the NARS Virtual Modern Sports Car Championship here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, Kirby leads overall and in Hypercar. JT Tammy leads in LMP2. Then Alan Holden in the number 25 Ferrari 296 leads LMGT3. Alexander McQuarrie rounding out the top 20 overall leads in LMGT3 AM by 1 lap over Stephen Miller in the number 424 McLaren 720S Evo that we really haven't seen much of in this race. But yeah, McQuarrie having a really, really good run in the number 23 there, James.
It definitely is. Sitting obviously within the fifth, I think it's fifth overall at the moment as well. But ahead of Stephen Miller, obviously, who's clearly had issues. A couple of people have been off. Lalonde's been off again. It does look like he's having a bit of a nightmare in that 9X8. I won't keep compounding that young man's misery because clearly he's having a bit of a rough one. But there's some people who are doing really well at the moment. And, you know, you can tell it's coming up the order as well. JT Tammy, Luciano Chazo and Michael Locke in the LMP2s sitting 5th, 6th and 7th overall at the moment. Let's not forget. So they're all sitting in that in their positions on merit. They're not, you know, and we figured that this would be one of the circuits where it's going to happen. But behind that is John Mayer, and he's fighting with Sahel Mustak at the moment.
Yeah, that's the battle for P5 in Hypercar, 8th and 9th overall, respectively. Ross, you found out some information about Cole McMillan reference the issue at the Corkscrew, I believe.
Yeah, I'm just trying to somehow close my window here. But yeah, it looked like he lost his reverse gear, so he wasn't actually able to get back out of the tire barrier. And he was pretty bummed by that because he really wanted to get to the end of the race and kind of you know, rub it in Alex's face and say, hey, look, I beat you.
Well, technically he did.
Yeah,
he beat him by 2 laps.
He'll crack the bubble on that one.
Yeah, 2 DNFs, and Cole McMillan was the last one that went. So, and Alec was the first one. So technically McMillan won. There we go.
Yeah, point taken there. Chazo has just pitted in the LMP2 battle. So JT Tammy leading Michael Locke by about 22.2 seconds. So we're into the last 29.5 minutes. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting one, how that develops over the next 10 minutes, I would say. Reference the respective pit stops for JT Tammy and Michael Locke. Here comes another replay. Is this Gilles Lalonde, I bet? 65, and on the dirt, and that was coming out of turn 10. And he's managed to rearrange some of the banners.
Yeah, this led to his DNF, unfortunately.
Oh dear. So that brings us to 6 DNFs in total.
Yeah.
Gilles hasn't really had a great time with that car, James, at all. I mean, you know, the first couple of moments we saw him going completely off track and at the same point on the circuit heading into turn 3.
Yeah, this is the thing with the 9X8, Alex. I've driven this car partly because I love the look of the 9X8. I hated it when they went and stuck that stupid wing on the back of it. It drove me absolutely insane because it looked amazing before the wing. But the car can be at times a little bit of a handful. And if he's already gone and he's heated up the tyres because he's got more times than a blinking ballerina, he is going to have problems with it. And you can see he did have problems there. That's Troy Uyan. That's Troy Uyan. He's just sat there.
That's a code brown.
That's Holden.
He went around the outside of Alan Holden. Oh dear, that's not where you want to lose traction at turn 2 at the Andretti hairpin.
No.
Oh dear.
Not while trying to overtake GT3 field either.
No, not at all. But still, in the meantime, talking about GT3s, Alan Holden now has pulled a gap of nearly 2 seconds over Ryan Paulbert Reyes. So that Ferrari is really, really strong in this race and around this racetrack as Troy Uyan going through the corkscrew, the front end looking a little bit unstable under braking, and now he goes through into rainy curve at turn 9 and just manages to sweep around the outside without hardly any trouble, unlike what he tried to do. But oh dear, that's not how you need to exit turn 10. That was one of the Lamborghinis. I think that was that Lanny Hall, possibly?
No,
Brian
it was Ryan Hall, I believe it was. Brian Hall was the one who unfortunately made a mistake going into turn 10. We're kind of in this I like to call this the F1 phase. This is the bit where you've had your Sunday dinner and you've gone to sleep. Yep. You've watched the first 10 laps, then you've got to sleep, and you're going to wake up within the next 10 laps, because that's when we expect people to start coming back together. You know, I still believe, I think there's one more pit stop for the Hypercars. Kirby, for me, if they are going 22 to 25 minutes, which is what we had given to us at the beginning, he pitted with about 34 minutes remaining. So it'd be interesting to see if he can manage to either get to the end on that and save enough fuel, or is he going to have to stop again, and he's trying to get that extra pit stop, almost that free pit stop time, Alex, that we have seen from multiple drivers. Don't necessarily think the GT3s would have one more stop to go. I think they might be all right, but it really does depend on what's going on and how heavy their right foot has been at the moment. Whether or not the top three of Holden, Reyes, and obviously, well, it's James Walker now, so I'm not quite sure where Eric Jacobs went. I think Jacobs actually did go into the pits, so he would have done their pit stop, so they should get to the end, the people that have pitted now.
Yeah, I would probably say we've said about 35 minutes, so we're looking in about the next 5 to 6 minutes that I would say we could see the pit stops from Holden, Reyes, Walker, McQuarrie, Schlichting and Overton. They've yet to do their second pit stop. So, yeah, Jacobs could be pulling a little bit of a masterstroke, you know, if he's been able to save a little bit of fuel, not go chasing after the top two in the form of Holden and Reyes, and just go, you know what, I'm going to try something a bit brave, a bit brazen here, and see if I can pull the rug from underneath their feet. And if he does that, that's going to be a hell of a masterstroke, especially around a circuit. We did talk about pit strategies earlier, gentlemen, that's one of the key points of this race here at Laguna Seca, that if you can do that kind of pit stop, you've been able to save a little bit of fuel, not go full bore and, you know, go like 90-95%, don't go 100% around the circuit, and save that little bit of extra fuel, save those tires a little bit more. That can put you in good stead for the remainder of the race.
Yeah, I agree. It can do, but it's who's managed to be able to do that. That's going to be the thing. I think Ross would have a better idea at who's managed to do what, and if anybody's managed to do it here as well, though.
Well, yeah, I think you're right. Fuel is going to be a concern here, and I think the ones who are going to do it the best are the ones who have the least amount of pressure on them, who've actually had a good chance to put some laps in and really know what their cars are capable of and where they need to set their pace. So obviously Daniel Kirby is going to be a good example there. I think Johnny Gutierrez does a pretty good job too, and you know, he's of course not too far away from Daniel Kirby. It wouldn't take more than just an errant GT3 on a pass to unsettle that balance that's existing at the moment. But certainly the Hypercars have a little bit more leeway in what they can do in terms of fuel saving, not just because they are able to utilize a bit more with their fuel mapping, but also because of the situation on the track. Like right now, as you see Troy Uyan trying to hunt down his rival ahead of him, which actually I believe
it's John Mayer
in front of. Oh, that is. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So John Mayer is actually hunting down Sahil Mustai. So he's going for it. Sorry, Troy and John. But so as he got stuck behind some of the GT traffic, he's able to sit there and coast a little bit more. There's nothing he can really do in some of those situations unless he's really going to force the issue. And I found that when I was driving Hypercar, that there were often times I could just throw it down into safety car into some segments of the track, and I could easily pull back, you know, a few liters over the course of a run, maybe even more than that, a few laps worth in some occasions. But yeah, they can do a lot with it.
Yeah, this is Matthew Overton.
Oh, and that's what we call an Overton.
Yeah, I don't know if he broke anything then, because he ended up having to go in pit lane after that.
Maybe that might have been his scheduled stop, because I mean he had Eric Jacobs behind him, and Jacobs has already pitted, so maybe Overton's just gone over that little bit of a limit. I mean, he didn't really steer that much into the corkscrew from the steering input we saw from the onboard there. But yeah, I think now we've got this closing battle between Sahil Mustak and John Mayer for P5 in Hypercar overall. So we're getting down to the last 22 minutes of the show here, folks, at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Thank you for everyone that's tuned in so far. Hope you've enjoyed the show. We are in that sort of, as you rightly said, the F1 coma lull, Mr. Parfit.
Yes.
But I think probably when we hit 15 minutes to go and we see a raft of pit stops happening, then it's going to be a case of the run to the checkered.
Wait, I want to interject real quick and just make mention to the audience that James isn't a die-hard endurance fan. He's likes to stick to more of the sprints, your BTCCs, your Formula Ones, where the races are a little bit more condensed.
I wouldn't
length,
put me in the Formula One category, Ross. I've got to be honest. To be honest, you can't sit there and say I'm not a die-hard endurance fan. I watch NASCAR every single week, bro. If I can spend 4.5 hours watching cars go round in a circle, I'm quite more than happy to sit and watch it. It is that low period. You're trying to deny a fact, Ross, that we are in that low period until we come down to the final probably 10-15 minutes. That's just me.
The fact that you say a NASCAR race is an endurance event kind of says that you...
Have you driven for 4 hours round a NASCAR, Ross? Have you driven 4 hours round? Well, there you go then. You know it's endurance. Of course it is.
Right.
When you have cautions every 20 laps.
I'll just
Ross
gents,
Smith.
just so we can break up this conversation a little second. Looking at the last laps between Dan Kirby and Johnny Gutierrez. Gutierrez just did on his last lap a 1:14.3. Dan Kirby 1:17.5. Gap is now 10.9 seconds and closing. Johnny was over 6 tenths quicker in the opening sector, so we are getting to that possible window where I think maybe with 10 minutes to go, Mr. Kirby might be going into the pit lane. And what can Johnny Gutierrez say in response to that as he's closing in on Ryan Paulbert Reyes and Alan Holden, who are now 7.5 tenths apart from each other?
Yeah. See? There you go. Oh, don't do that, bro.
And hold the breath there.
Yeah, I was wondering what was going to happen there because I'm sitting there thinking Alan Holden is going to be one angry young man if you took him out there, dear sir, as well. But now that's gone back out to about nearly 11-12 seconds at the moment after he's just gone and made the mistake in and around that traffic. To be honest, Alex, I would normally sit here and be like, oh, he's going to, he's closing in, he's going to catch him. But I bet you any money, if you asked Dan Kirby whether or not he was managing that gap, he'll go, yeah, I was. You know what I mean? Because I think that's the thing. He reminds me of the old saying where you dangle the carrot, but you never quite feed the donkey. I think Kirby is managing the gap. Gutierrez is getting excited by it. But Kirby, I can guarantee, I reckon probably 13, 14 seconds ahead by the end of the race. If he's fuel saving, it's obviously going to be less than that. But I think at the moment, he's managing this gap quite well for Dan Kirby. So at the moment, though, the only close real battle is this one down in GT3s between Paulbert Reyes and Alan Holden.
Yeah, that's still around about 7.5 to 8 tenths of a second. So it really is going to be a case of... Now, bearing in mind that Holden, Reyes... Schlichting, they have not yet done their final pit stop. Now, Eric Jacobs, currently at the moment, is quite a bit of way behind Holden and Reyes. So maybe when they decide to pit, we've actually gone over... I'm trying to remember when they first pitted earlier on in the race, did our top two in LMGT3, because we are now past... Well, we're over 110. We're over an hour and 10 minutes, so... We're getting to that dying, it's going to be a case of which one of these drivers pulls the trigger first to dive into pit lane. And I would imagine that probably they will both do it at the same time. So Holden will go in first, Reyes will cover him off, and it's about who can get out of the pit lane quickest. And if Reyes does him in the pit stop, then that gives the Porsche the advantage over the Ferrari, whereas Holden has pretty much been leading every single lap in the GT3s pretty much this whole race.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's going to be who's going to be where. Where are they in conjunction with their strategy? That's going to be the interesting thing. And whether or not it's going to be Holden's got to dive in first, whether or not Reyes has got to go in first, who's managed what, how have they done this, who's saved what. it's all going to be up in the arms at the moment until we know for sure. And we probably might not even find that out unless we've got about 10 minutes to go. So I'm interested to see what happens here and with this battle. You know, we had that thing where it was like, they're going to do 2 stops, but how short is that second or that last stop got to be? And have they left it late enough to be able to get it to the end? Again, I think that's more of a question for Ross than it is for us up here in the booth.
Oh, they should be able to, yeah.
Well,
okay.
I have no
short, sweet answer. There you go. Moving on.
There you go. Short and to the point there from Mr. Ross Smith, ladies and gentlemen. But meantime, Reyes has closed that gap astronomically. It was 7.5 tenths. It's now 2.5 going through the corkscrew. Alexander McQuarrie has gone in for his second and final pit stop of the night. So he's got a comfortable lap lead over Stephen Miller, who's currently running P22. But we are on board with Reyes in the number 12. Porsche. There is a hypercar that looks to be Jerry Chen, and he has got with him, I think, well, that's one of the Lamborghinis. I don't think that wasn't Brian Hall. I think that might have been Lanny Hall in the other car, because they're both running Lamborghinis. So Lanny doing a good job holding on. Was it? I think it was definitely it was
Jerry Chen and whoever that may be.
Well, that was one of the Cadillacs, actually. I think I've just seen going through, but yeah, I think
Kesby.
Yeah,
Ben Kesby.
Ben Kesby. Okay, so that makes that point through. That's the thing with the Cadillacs and the Lamborghinis. Sometimes you try and look and you go, is that a Lamborghini? Is that a Cadillac? Because in some respects, there's a little bit of similarity on how sharp and pointy those 2 hypercars are in terms of design, but they are really, really pushing our Holden and Reyes. We've got 14 minutes and 50 seconds to go until the checkered, and neither of them are giving quarter. They are pushing at the moment. I mean, Holden's last lap 1:24.1, Reyes 1:24.29, so about a tenth covers them in terms of lap, or just over a tenth covers them in terms of lap time pace, but. Yeah, I think it's now the fact that I think Reyes wants to try and make the overtake out on track rather than do it in the pit lane.
If he can, it's probably his best bet, to be honest. I wouldn't want to be leaving it to chance that he's going to get it done in the pits. I would want to try and get it done on track and try and open up a gap if he can. I think, wouldn't most race drivers want to do that, Ross?
Well, it's as Alex said, as you said, actually, it's a matter of whether you can or can't. But I think in this case, neither one of them is really in a spot where they have to save too much, other than maybe conserve tires. I mean, there's still a bit of race left, and I would, as Ryan Paul Reyes is sitting, I imagine that he's just trying to maintain that gap, make sure that he's in a good spot to pounce, because he knows that there's probably going to be another cycle of cars coming through at one point or another, where it could open up an opportunity for him to get by. But I think if he can force a mistake, or maybe sit back a little bit, let those tires cool down and launch an attack, he might be able to force that mistake on his own and take advantage and run home to victory.
I think you might be right.
That gap between the pair of them is has got the old pendulum effect at the moment. At one point, it was 2.5 tenths, and then it was, okay, right, pits, and they both go in at the same time. Reyes very late on the brakes there to hit the pit lane speed limiter. So how much quicker is the pit lane race going to be between these two? So effectively, by going in front of Alan Holden, Reyes has taken the LMGT3 lead. So this is going to be rather close. So who is going to get off their marks first? Oh, and it's Holden. Holden got him. Holden got him. Good and proper, and that's a good couple of seconds, I think.
Yeah, as long as he's made no dramas, because he did pass him very quickly there. Keeping the line, son. All the way out. Get it out.
That is not a big gap.
No, it's definitely not.
Well, the thing is, they've got a hypercar right in the middle trying to get through, which does so very quickly. Now here go. Reyes is trying to go for it now into the next right-hander, and he nearly makes contact. And Holden's around and taking out a 9X8. I think there might have been a little touch. I think there was a little touch. Left front to right rear.
It can only be
I think there might have been.
It can only be Gutierrez.
Right, let's have a look. Yeah, there was I think there might have been a slight rub, and it's. Okay.
Right there.
Yeah,
it's hard to say if he came on to him or not.
Ah, there we go.
Oh,
That might give me a better picture. Let me see if I can just do this and then do that. There you go.
Oh,
It was,
I don't know now.
Unless Alan's lost it on his own, but it's difficult. Because he tries to keep with him, and then
it's really hard to try and get. Oh,
I don't think he touched him. I think they were just trying to give each other some room.
I'm just sort of. Yeah, I think the thing is maybe, you know, Ryan went for the move, and it might have caught Alan a little bit unawares, and he's gone to react, maybe opened up the steering, and then it's just caused an absolute mayhem for the 25, and then all of a sudden the 9X8 of Gutierrez just gets who's just DNF'd as a result of that contact.
I wonder how much did he see of this? Oh, no.
He blindsided. Yeah, he couldn't do anything. The minute that Alan rotated, it was harpoon, pinball, bang, all over. And that was a real shame. Johnny Gutierrez was on for a top 3 finish as well. He was actually second at one point. I think he was second at that point when that incident happened. And he was on for his best finish of the season so far. He's had trouble as Johnny Gutierrez. We saw one race earlier on this season where he got taken out early and didn't even come out. And that's just before 10 minutes to go. So Johnny Gutierrez in the 102 9X8 has just been given the biggest blow to a potential top 3 within the first half of the season.
Yeah, but that's racing. He was closing. That's the thing, isn't it? He was closing in on Dan Kirby. You said about the gap coming down, and it was coming down. And I said it was about, you know, Kirby probably managing the gap, and it was closing for Gutierrez. But as much as he probably wants to come out of here and be like, Alan Holden, rah, 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 look at it again and turn around and go, was he really in control at that moment? He obviously snapped. He knew that. It looked like there may have been contact. We can't really get a clean angle, but I don't know. I think Gutierrez has just got to come away and go, okay, it really wasn't his fault.
Yeah, completely agree with that. I think it's just like when you are closing in on a battle, and more importantly, it was for the class lead in GT3. So that, you know, it's unfortunate that that has happened. And yeah, I think from what I could see out of both those respective angles that we got, I think it was just the fact that Alan might have just been caught a little bit unawares, or just caught out plainly by Ryan just throwing it to the inside, thought there was room, and if Alan's made a misstep, and it's just cost him a win. However, I'm going to say this, Alan Holden now back within 1.7 seconds of Ryan Paulbert Reyes, but the damage sustained to that Ferrari, could it have hindered the performance of that car? Because I'm just looking at the lap times. Ryan Paulbert Reyes' last lap, 1:24.0. Alan Holden, 1:23.2.
Clearly
so, not. I don't think it has. And that could give an opportunity if Alan is able to close in, but that depends on the traffic closing in on him, whether he can maybe use the slipstream of the LMP2 that's in front of him to advantage, but he's got to be a lot closer than that. It's just about now, can he pull that Ferrari kicking and screaming by the rear wing to close that gap? And it's now going up to 2.1. So it's, you know, if there was like maybe 17 minutes, if that an incident happened then then you may say that Alan Holden's got a chance. But with 7 minutes to go, Reyes, now 2 seconds clear, is probably going to say, well, I think I might have this sewn up. But, you know, stranger things have happened in 7 minutes before the checkered.
Well, Alan Holden wasn't quite expected to be where he was going to be. The only thing I wonder now, when you think back to the incident, whether or not Holden was trying to make sure that he maintained that position over Paulbert Reyes, and he had the throttle down, or he was late going into the brakes, and unfortunately for him, he went round. And that's the only thing I can think, because this is the man that's not made any mistakes the whole race. Like, none. Zero. And the only time he did make that mistake was when he basically looks like he was put under pressure, and unfortunately either broke late or went in and tried to over accelerate and caused the car to go round. So, you know, he may look back and go, okay, that was my mistake, or he may look back and think, right, I'm going for it. And at the moment, as we're coming into nearly the final 5, he looks like he is going for it.
Yeah, so with just under 6 minutes to go, retirements, unfortunately, Johnny Gutierrez with 10 minutes remaining. Gilles Lalonde has retired. Cole McMillan, Alec King and Preston McNair from LMP2. LMGT3 AM. Tom Nacella in the very broken rear end of that Ford Mustang, and also Stacey Scotts, who was our first retiree very early in the race. Amidst the battle between Ben Kesby and Troy Uyen that we saw early doors, but Kesby now running nearly a minute behind Kirby at the moment. Troy Uyen 18 seconds behind the number 9 Cadillac. So yeah, Daniel Kirby at the moment, Ross, is you know, he's just been the complete tour de force, Mr. Domination so far this series. And at the moment, well, no one seems to really be able to have his number, even though he's switched from the 963 Porsche for the first 3 rounds to the 968 9X8 Evo for this round. I've got a real foreboding feeling that Daniel Kirby, you know, if we get to say like Mosport or Road America, he's probably going to have enough points in the bag to say, well, I've pretty much wrapped up the title for this year.
Yeah, I agree. It's certainly looking the case, but you know, keep in mind that incident that happened to Steven Gutierrez. You know, you feel gutted for him, but just imagine if that had been a situation that occurred with
Who's
Danny
Steven
Kirby.
Gutierrez?
See it now, Johnny.
Johnny Gutierrez. Sorry.
There we go.
So yeah, I caught the bug.
Everybody's making up love children up here in the booth this evening.
I know.
But that could have easily happened to Dan Kirby. I mean, you just find yourself in a situation. I went back and I looked again. I did not see any contact between Alan Holden and Ryan Paulbert Reyes. I think that Alan Holden anticipated that Ryan might have gone in a little bit hotter into that corner, and he was just reacting a little bit. Like you said, he opened the steering just enough, and it was enough.
He's got him!
Hit the corner. Okay, here it's on again. I'll stop talking, let you have it.
Right, okay. Reyes versus Holden side by side
Same
into
corner!
turn. Oh, the side pressure
was contact.
panels. That was definitely contact between the pair of them going through turn 3. Holden to the outside, Reyes to the inside. Reyes back in the race lead as we've got 3.5 minutes to go. So LMGT3 has gone to sudden mistake by one driver, a lock up into turn 2 at the Andretti hairpin. Porsche doing Porsche things for the number 12 of Ryan Paulbert Reyes, with Alan Holden in the prancing horse right with him now as they're going to go up the hill. As we will probably have, let's just see, Daniel Kirby currently, I mean, might be partway through sector 2 at the moment. We're on lap 71 of this race, and through the corkscrew, Holden trying to get on terms with Reyes once again in the Porsche through turn number 9 at Rainy Curve, now into the right-hander here at turn 10. This is game on with literally moments to spare, and Holden is chomping at the bit. He's trying to force Reyes into a mistake. And there is a hypercar square in the middle. That's the 24 of Troy Uyen, third in hypercar. He's split the pair of the Warwick LMGT3 cars. Reyes versus Holden. The gap now up to 0.7 of a second with 2.5 minutes to go. I think we're probably going to be hitting around 73, 74 laps total track laps. And here is the race leader. Here's Dan Kirby. And he'll probably have an idea that these two are battling over the LMGT3 class lead. He's not making a move on them yet, as that gap is now coming down to 0.4 of a second. Now Kirby's going to get through on Holden. Where's he going to try? Now he's in between the two of them at the minute. Oh, that was so close between Holden and also Kirby, as James nearly having a panic attack in the corner, seeing that. Oh my goodness me, as if we thought there weren't going to be any more twists and tales in this story here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. We've definitely had it now.
Yeah, you definitely, this is where you wake up now. This is where, I told you, Ross, it gets like this towards the end of the race. And Holden at the moment, he did not come out of that traffic well. Every overtake that they had from the hypercars affected Alan Holden more than Paulbert Reyes. Holden, no! He's gone round!
He went deep. He went deep into turn number 10. And the back end of that Ferrari has just gone around. He's glanced the wall with the right front. And that's going to bring James Walker. Is that James Walker that's going to go through? It is. James Walker has gone through on Alan Holden. Schlittling's gone through, so that is Holden off the rostrum. Holden off the rostrum with less than 60 seconds to go. It was so close. Then Alan Holden loses it coming out of turn 10. Battling for the lead. Let's have a look at the Champion Motorsports replay. So going through into the cambered right-hander, I think he might have just slightly touched the rear bumper and it spun him around.
Yeah, he carried far too much more speed. And then he had to brake, and then he had to brake more, and then he had to brake even more. And the Ferrari was like, no, you are not braking that hard. And unfortunately for him, he has now dropped off the podium. And Paulbert Reyes looks like he's got a free run right to the end. But Dan Kirby is about... Oh, this is going to be a very, very close. Whether or not this is going to be the final lap, we're going to have 10 seconds to go.
It's going to be nip and tuck here. He's got round the outside. That might have been Alexander McQuarrie who's just got through on. As 3, 2, 1. Timer has expired. It's going to be checkered flag this time, I'm sure. He's flashing the lights. That's it. Job done. Dan Kirby, 4 out of 4. Amidst drama in the LMGT3 battle for the lead. He takes the lead. JT Tammy takes the win in LMP2. Norm Graff in the Valkyries retired from the lead of Hypercar Am. Lanny Hall is going to take it as long as Carl Strahal, who's 1.1 seconds behind him. Is Lanny Hall going to take the win in that class? I'm not sure.
It doesn't look like it.
I don't think he's decided to go rally crossing. Oh, there we go. There's Brian. He's up on his lid. But more to the point, it's going to be a third win out of 4 for Ryan Paulbert Reyes amidst drama. The battle between him and Alan Holden went right down to the wire. And it's going to be Alexander McQuarrie that's going to pick up the victory in LMGT3 AM. Get this. We talked about recovery drives. Max Southernlap takes P2 in GT3 AM, having been in the pits early after contact with one of the 9X8 Evos, which I think was Gilles Lalonde early doors, going through into the Corkscrew. He has made it into P2 in class. Stephen Miller in the McLaren rounds out the top 3. So it's a 1-2 for Aston Martin in the LMGT3 AM, with Porsche winning ahead of Aston Martin and Mercedes in GT3. Ryan Paulbert Reyes, James Walker and William Schlichting. I mean, I don't know what to say about that, but Ryan Paulbert Reyes, he has got 3 wins out of 4. So that means that Daniel Kirby's got 4 wins out of 4. JT Tammy becomes our second different winner in LMP2. Ryan Paulbert Reyes returns to victory lane in LMGT3. And Alexander McQuarrie wins in AM. Well, we knew it was going to be crazy, but the LMGT3 battle just literally imploded with minutes to go.
Yeah, it definitely did, and it made it very, very interesting indeed. And that's the thing. I think this is where the racing has come into it. It's been great racing all the way through. We had that little quiet spell, but now we're back, and now we can bring you up the results here of the race.
So Daniel Kirby makes it 4 from 4 after 72 laps here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, ahead of Troy Uyen, who managed to get through on Ben Kesby. for second in the class. JT Tammy, 4th overall. Best result, I think, possibly for an LMP2 this season. And wins the class. Sahil Mustak beats John Mayer to the line for 4th in Hypercar. They finished 5th and 6th respectively, with Luciano Ichazo and Michael Locke rounding out the top 3. This means that Ichazo closes the gap to Alec King ahead of the Glen on the 12th of June, when we will see LMP2 action back on the championship trail. Jerry Chen and Brian Hall round out our top 10 overall, respectively, in the Hypercar class. Then Norm Graff showing as our winner in the Aston Martin Valkyrie, according to the live timing. Then it will be Lanny Hall and Carl Strahal rounding out your top 13, thereby the only 3 Hypercar AMs we had. Ryan Paulbert Reyes, 3rd win out of 4 this season. He finishes ahead of the Aston Martin number 14 of James Walker from Dark Thunder Racing, with William Schlichting rounding out the top 3 in LMGT3. And what a shame for Alan Holden. So close, but drama with just a couple of turns to go meant that he would end up 4th in the classification. Eric Jacobs rounding out the top 5. Johnny Gutierrez. And then we had Alexander McQuarrie for Dark Thunder Racing and the number 23 Aston Martin picking up the win in LMGT3 AM. Matthew Overton and Max Southern-Lap with Stephen Miller rounding out your classified finishers, with Max Southern-Lap taking 2nd and Stephen Miller taking 3rd in LMGT3 AM. Gilles Lalonde, Cole McMillan, Alec King, Tom Nacella, Preston McNair and Stacey Scotts, the drivers that unfortunately did DNF plenty of time before we got the checkered flag. Gents, what can we say about that race? What can we say about it? I mean, I'm speechless.
It's been definitely one for the ages and one for the masses there, Ross, as well.
Yeah, and there was so much going on. We missed some of the things that were happening right at the end. James Walker was having a big fight and attack on Schlichting right as they came around the final corner. And then you saw the exact same thing happen between Kesby and Uyan. Uyan was it didn't look like he was going to have enough, and then Kesby just went a little bit slideways into the final corner, and it gave Troy just enough to be able to slip by him by not even half a car length coming up to the finish line. So incredible run at the end there. You know, we called that the kind of the slow period. I call it the simmer, because that really set things up for a dramatic showdown right at the end. And once again, NARS delivers. This was fantastic.
Yeah, definitely the case. We got the simmer, then we definitely got the sizzle at the back end of this 1.5 hour race, this 90-minute endurance race here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. I was really hoping that we were going to see a really good battle to see Alan Holden and Reyes go toe-to-toe once again. We'd seen that in the last 10 minutes of the race. And you know, you have to give kudos to Alan Holden. He clawed back a 2-second disadvantage after that incident. Then we saw Reyes making that mistake going into the Andretti hairpin at turn 2. It was just a case of whoever would be the more on their marks. And as you said, James, Alan Holden having that big overspeed going through into that right hand, that cambered right hand at turn 10. It just goes to show that one wrong move, too much speed, and it's game over.
Yeah, absolutely as well. We've got Ryan Paulbert Reyes up in the interview room. We can have a chat with him. Let's start off actually in reverse. Let's go Alexander McQuarrie in the GT3 AMS for you.
Well, Alexander, welcome to Victory Lane here at Laguna Seca. Congratulations. How was it for you? Because we did see that you were showing some good pace in qualifying, and you brought the Aston Martin home to the class victory here tonight.
I'm tired. It's just navigating the traffic and stuff like that. I mean, it was getting pretty hairy with the hypercars and stuff. But I had enough gap where if I see a hyper come behind me, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna let up a little bit and let him pass because of the Also, too, this Laguna I track a lot at Laguna too on my motorcycle, so I kind of know the track. I don't want to say inside it out, but pretty well. So I'm pretty happy with those results.
Yeah, I mean,
issues too. I was having computer issues the last 2 races. I'm like, all right, cool, got all the gremlins out, we're good. So
Yeah, that's really, yeah, that's one of the things you don't want is having your CPU, your GPU cause you problems during the race itself. But how was it dealing with the hypercars and the LMP2s trying to get through? I mean, that must have been tough at times.
You know, I mean, leading up into the corkscrew, if I see them behind me, and I have to see how far the gap is. But if they're pretty right on me, I'll kind of like pull over to the side and tap a little bit so they fly right by. Then then I'll take the corkscrew. But I've seen a couple corkscrew crashes were pretty scary. So I was glad I was able to get through that and get the win.
Yeah, and like you said, tired mentally and physically. Of course, next up we've got the Detroit on May 15th. It's going to be a new track for everybody. Of course, we're going to see just hypercars and GT3s in action. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know what Detroit looks like, so I mean, I just got to put in the time and learn the track. I'm looking forward to Spa on Saturday, so I hope I can pull out a win there. But yeah, it's just I was able to put it together. I mean, I was actually kind of shocked how far ahead I was. Paul wasn't racing today either, so I mean, if Paul was racing and then if Mac didn't get taken out, I mean, the race would have been way closer. I mean, those guys are faster than me, so I'll take the win though. So.
Brilliant. Well, this puts you straight into the firing line with regards to challenging Paul Iverson. Well done on the W tonight. Well done for the win for Victory Lane here at Laguna Seca. Anyone you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
My teammate Matt, he helped me with all the gremlins. He's running pro, and he just walked me through the whole thing, set up and all that, and none of that DNF stuff anymore. So definitely him, and my two sim racing buddies, Mac and Ryan Paulbert. I mean, these guys practice with me pretty much all the time. So we push each other, and it's good stuff. And also, I got to thank my girlfriend. That's one of the most important thank yous. So that's it.
Brilliant. Alexander, thanks for talking to us. We'll see you next time on May 15th at the 90 Minutes of Detroit.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, next up, let's bring in our overall GT3 winner, Ryan Paulbert Reyes. Ryan, back to winning ways after what happened at Sebring, but it was close between you and Alan, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, super close. I honestly thought I was not going to be able to pull that off.
Just tell us with regards to that, when you both came out of the pit lane, he shot past you like a rocket, and then I think it was coming into turn 3. Was there any contact between you? Because it was difficult to see on the broadcast.
On my end, I didn't see any contact. I think we might have, but my damage graph showed me nothing, so I wasn't sure. I think we just got really close. But I think there was also a car that kind of like held him up in that corner, so I was able to kind of like catch up. But shortly after that, my tires just fell off a cliff.
But still, one mistake from Alan cost him the victory. It means you got a 3rd win out of 4 races this season. Were you hoping it was going to go down to the wire like a photo finish?
I really wish it did, because I feel like Alan did a great job tonight. I mean, he played the pit strategy very well. I was literally panicking in my head driving, figuring out, did he just one-stop me or what's going on? Did he take tires, trying to calculate what's going on? And if he went one more lap on the last pit, I would have not made it, because I had to pit. I was at 0.1 fuel when we both pitted, so it kind of played out by keeping pace behind him and Eric for a while and not pushing it, and literally driving on safety car fuel map for about 30 minutes. So,
well, congratulations, 3rd win out of 4 races this season. You looking forward to Detroit in May, in a few weeks?
Not really. I don't like walls that close.
Good man. Well, anyone you'd like to give a thank you to before we let you go and enjoy your victory with a well-earned cold beverage?
Definitely my girlfriend, who's sitting on the couch right now waiting for me to get off the computer already. I appreciate her letting me practice and do this 90-minute race. So, yep.
Brilliant, Ryan. Thanks a lot for your time. We'll see you next time out at Detroit on May 15th.
All right. Cheers, guys.
Okay, penultimate interview. New winner in LMP2, JT Tammy joins us. JT, congratulations. You took the advantage when Alec had 2 big incidents going into turn 6. How are you feeling taking the win?
Good. Hometown advantage, you know.
But it was pretty close between the hypercars and the LMP2s when it came to how close you guys were to each other out on track. I was quite surprised about it, that the hypercars weren't able to take advantage of their top speed because of the close nature of Laguna Seca. And what was your approach to just giving it the berries and ending up P4 overall, funnily enough?
Oh, the key with this car is momentum and using that downforce, carrying as much speed as you can through the corners, and that's where we have the advantage against the hypercars. Is they're much heavier. They don't have that aero to work with. They're you know, going through like a turn 9, for example, they're plowing quite a bit more, and the LMP2 just with a good front aero can just, you know, rip right through that. So really trying to take advantage of the car's strengths here, you know, carrying momentum through the corners and out of the corners. It was super important for dealing not only with traffic, but also running quickly.
Fair enough. Well, listen, we know that the LMP2s have a little bit of a breather. Are you going to decide to hit the track in either a hypercar or a GT3 at Detroit on May 15th?
I'm not sure. I'll definitely be there. I'll probably lean hypercar just because I do lots of GTs elsewhere, as well as like our Saturday series. So it'd be nice to step into the hypercar just for a little bit.
Brilliant. JT, before we let you go, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Everybody, Storm Gang got this mod going for us that we get to play with. Who did such a phenomenal job with it. Everybody that helps run this league, especially Matt. You guys coming doing the broadcast for us. Definitely Alec for paying for it. You know, that's what helps run the show, and we get to have fun, you know, every Thursday night because of that. So thanks to everyone involved.
JT, Tammy, our new winner in LMP2. Congratulations on finally hitting victory lane. And we'll hopefully see you out on track, being in the hypercar on May 15th at Detroit for round 5.
Yeah. Thank you.
Last but by certainly no means least, well, this man's success rate has no limits at the moment. It's 4 for 4. Dan Kirby, once again a race winner, this time with the 9X8 Evo. Dan, welcome in. Congrats once again for another victory. Comfortable, would you say?
In terms of gap, yeah, but that track is an absolute beast to do multi-class on, so you cannot rest for like a split second trying to manage traffic and everything. So it was definitely tough, but I think the gap was a lot bigger because I was, I think, the only person to cut out the extra stop for fuel at the end.
Well, Johnny was closing on you before he unfortunately got blindsided between the battling pair at the front of LMGT3 with Alan and Ryan Paulbert Reyes, which saw him unfortunately getting taken out. But yeah, like you said, it's a difficult track to master. We were seeing that the 9X8 was doing a little bit of a wheelie on the right front, going through the second half of the Corkscrew, but. You know, what was the decision? Just to ask, what was the decision of deciding to go with the 9X8 Evo as opposed to the Porsche 963 this time?
It's kind of just on a whim. I just felt like driving it. It's a car I used in 2023, so it's something I know pretty well, and I just felt like kind of changing up and see how it does, just kind of gauge its competitiveness, and obviously it's doing pretty good.
Definitely. Final question. Detroit coming up on May 15th. Are you going to stick with the 9X8, or are you possibly going to switch to the Porsche, or are you going to test both cars out to see which one feels better around the new updated track we'll have?
Yeah, I'll probably stick with the 9X8 for the rest of the season at least. Just to see how it does at more kinds of tracks. Detroit's going to be really, really interesting.
Well, Dan, thanks very much for joining us post-race. Congratulations on your 100% success rate continuing here at Laguna Seca. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Just everyone here for putting this on, letting us race.
Brilliant. Dan, thanks for your time, buddy. Go and get yourself a cold beverage. You've definitely earned it after that race at Laguna Seca, and we'll see you at round 5 at Detroit.
Alrighty, thank you guys.
Well, James, Ross, final thoughts before we close things off tonight here at Laguna Seca.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I'm gutted the GT3 battle finished as it did. I thought it was going to come down to the wire. And some missed opportunities. Alex King driving like he stole it. And unfortunately, Sausage Curb said no.
Ross?
Yeah, I agree with James. You know, I feel good for those guys. Just as that was happening, it was really no one's fault. That was a perfect example, textbook of what a racing incident truly is. But it demonstrates fully just how unpredictable these multi-class races can be, and how you can be in a position where you might be looking at a win, and then very suddenly the smallest instant can just take that right away or completely change the makeup of the race. So I feel bad for them, but you know, we did see that there was a lot of good class interaction throughout the race. You know, we didn't have a whole lot of problems, or there are a couple hiccups here and there, as it does tend to happen. But overall, everyone generally played pretty nice. We had good weather. And good racing all around, and good broadcast. So yeah, congrats to everybody.
Well, folks, that's it for us here for the NARS Virtual Modern Sports Car Championship. Don't forget, this coming Saturday is going to be the 90 Minutes of Spa on the Virtual World Sports Car Championship that you can watch live and uninterrupted. So until then, it's goodbye from myself, Alex Goldschmidt, James Parfitt and Ross Smith. This has been a JP Broadcasting production. And as always, race hard, race fair. And if in doubt, well, you better go flat out. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye for now.